Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Proving Ground Circuit Qualifiers number 2. Things are going to be so exciting today as we're heading into the semifinals. My name is Sierra Dawn. I am your host for today. I am joined with the absolutely lovely RMC. We get another sneak peek at this graphic. Did you make that yourself?
I got someone to help make it for me. Thought it's semifinals, got to make it a little bit special.
You could have just said it was you. We wouldn't question you. We would have just applauded you for that one instead. We're also joined here with Lorlo. Hello. We're so glad to have you and your level of experience on the broadcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks I'm really excited, honestly. I haven't been on anything desk related in about 2 years for myself, so I'm just genuinely excited to watch some League and just be able to talk about it, and just hopefully the drafts are good. Would be critical. Hopefully they pull out some picks I'm looking forward to, like maybe Action. I want to see some Malphite too, because I know at least for the first set, I know Niles plays a bunch of Jace, so I'm hoping Dragoon plays some Malphite into it if that happens.
So this is the one day for sure for nobody to do anything super wacky with the drafts, and you're going to be looking out for that. You're going to call them out. Before we get way into that, though, we're going to recap over what's been happening so far, going back over into the groups and just how these teams were able to get to this point in the tournament. Of course, the crowns signify who is able to be moving on in the journeys that we take. Some journeys a little easier than other. Then heading over to groups C and D, you can see just how dominant some of these teams have been and just how not others have, but still fantastic gameplay coming out all around to bring it to this point in the competition. And of course, these teams are playing for points, trying to get to the main event. RMC, I would love if you could break down what it means for these teams at this point with this point distribution coming up.
Yeah, so we're down to the final 4 here, and you can see them in white compared to all the teams in red, which are kind of already done their PGCQ run here. And interesting to note is Maryville University at 7th place. That's super important because anybody 7th and down right now will have to go through play-ins for the actual Proving Grounds event. So Maryville need a win tonight to avoid play-ins. Immortals AoE at the very top, they're 2nd place. They could potentially take 1st place away from 100 Thieves as well if they can just win the entire tournament. Taco Gaming and No Team, they are playing for seeding as well. Specifically Taco Gaming, if they beat Immortals tonight, could potentially get 2nd place and open up 2nd place as well for No Team if No Team can win their match as well.
Definitely quite a bit on the line for the teams. And of course, we do have the Proving Grounds bracket and schedule up as well to see whereabouts these teams, where the seeding will end up, how things will shake up in the competition that they have ahead of them. Lorlo, I know your experience. I would love if you could talk about us and give us your input on these teams that we're going to see here as well.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really surprised that EG Academy was doing as poorly as they were in this split. I think players like Surdy and Soligo on that roster, I'm expecting them to do really well. Personally, watching them in programs, I'm a big fan of them. I hope they do well, but especially in Champions Queue, Surdy was playing phenomenally well, compared to most of the other tops in Champions Queue, relative to his counterparts. And Soligo himself was on LCS with Dig, and I think he got kind of shot in the foot and benched when it wasn't appropriate for him, so I hope he brings it back and gets another LCS spot.
Well, now we get to see, where these teams are going, but we have a little montage as well to show just where these teams have been and what they've had to gone through to get to this point.
We're all expecting our tickets to be booked to quarterfinals. I think we're all just prepping for our next match.
But, I'm the GOAT, so I just carried him.
Every single person in our team really trusts in each other.
Pretty scared of only 2 teams. When 100X is gone now.
Welcome back to the 2nd Proving Grounds Open Circuit Qualifier.
Hey, this next set of games has a lot to live up to if it's going to be half as exciting as that last one. Gwyn is immune!
Gotta know that Amateur had this kind of scene going on.
I'm right and you're wrong. That's all I have to say. I am the only one who believes.
To work faster. They're going after the Nexus Towers, but the Nexus Towers
are
healthy. Trevor doing
Anime Girl's doing it!
Right after the Nexus Tower #1. It will fall. There's Anime Girl. He's
Anime Girl!
Base. He is going for the back door. Structures are getting destroyed.
No way! What I just watched, Desrux. I can.
Can need someone to body block the incoming rocket, and there's the engage from Trickster. No stopping that with the Everfrost. Lynx has the reset. Lynx has 2 already. Can we make it 3? Can we make it 4? Lynx is gonna walk away with the pentakill. Gentleman has bought time. It's bought time, and they're locked up. Griffin has to run away. The reposition comes through, but there's a reset for Scoop. Can he carry the fight? Scoop's got 2. Jeremy's in trouble. It's gonna be 3. It's gonna be 4. Scoop may have given no team away. Back into the game.
Fear in return. No deaths just yet. Auto Orange unable to get into the pit. Hops up the wall with the skate. Manages to steal the Baron. How does he do it?
I think people don't respect him as much as he should. I don't know why.
Ornhorn actually going to come in, get no knockups at all, but it does force the ultimate from Azog. Remember, Blade Caller still available. Nice counter engage from APA, however, does find 2 roots. And Z-Score ends up going down. Sawjet tries to pick up Shady, but the dash over the wall keeps him alive. Maryville do not lose a single member.
They're looking for a play. Super Mega Death Rocket over to the side. Hecarim gets the dragon, but look at the price that must be paid. A triple kill. Dragoon.
Winston with Crescent gets taken down. DNA will be the next target. Anime Girl taking a lot here, but Shoji is alive and well and dealing the damages. Shoji goes for the backside. Out comes the curtain call on top of it. City Witty's likely not going to be able to get out of this one alive. It could potentially be the Penta, but Shoji's going to pick up the one. Stole the Penta. It was like,
Everything is falling apart, and I think we might have the answer. If this is the moment that everything falls apart.
I really thought, okay, maybe they have a chance because they were able to get a ton of damage into the base of Maryville. They could stall this out, but they fell like dominoes, one by one, and they haven't been able to slow down Maryville's push at all. They're walking towards the base, Travis. They gotta make a base defense now.
Just ended it. Shady just popped. Fnatic, his HP is going down.
Cypher's trying.
Over here onto the side, trying to do whatever he can, but this duelist is
Array's up.
himself in a 1v4. Array is in a terrible way. It is Sniper
He's
on the field. Fnatic is gone. Maryville are looking to put an end to the game, and they will do just that.
If that doesn't get you pumped, I honestly don't know what will. That was amazing. What do you guys, just to your takeaway from that? Are you even just more excited for these semis we have ahead of us now?
Yeah, and especially the last sort of video clip there we saw was from the Maryville versus 100X game, and it's worth noting 100 Thieves Knicks were the favorites to win it all. So Maryville, they're part of our first matchup here. This team is a team to watch, and watching that clip specifically, them winning and punching their ticket to the semifinals, has me hyped for this first matchup here.
It was looking like a little bit of a Jinx montage, both throughout the whole. I just saw Jinx kill after Jinx kill. I'm not gonna lie, that champion is still broken. I expect it to be first pick or banned like throughout all these sets. Like, I'll keep my eye out on that for sure.
Yeah, Maryville University, it was a fantastic ride that they took to be able to get to this point, and that being the first matchup of the day, going up against no team. Be interesting to see if they can continue that going forward, because they're looking great so far. And looking over at the roster too, we get a chance to kind of note from both teams these players and just how they've been playing RMC.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that for the side of no team here, it's actually not going to be Qualifier playing tonight, though he did play last week. It is going to be Scoop, the regular starter, coming back in to pair with Jashuka here. And when I look at these names here, definitely some standouts. I mean, Niles being a big one for the side of Maryville, and AP as well, a player they were waiting for. Did not play in PGCQ1 because they wanted to give him time to acclimatize to Maryville since he just joined them this year. Physically in location as well, so they wanted him to settle in. And for the side of no team, Griffin, 15-year-old prodigy, man, really good jungler. You heard him in the montage as well. The man carries his team.
Yeah, and that is why, you know, Griffin just being able to be such a carry, that's going to be our head-to-head for the day. Griffin up against Odd Orange. Orlo, if you want to look at this graphic and tell us your first thoughts of these two absolute amazing players.
Yeah, honestly, I'm really looking not only at the jungle position, but also just how the top and jungle work together, because I know Niles and Odd Orange did really well versus the 100x set, and I think if they do similar to Griffin and Dragoon today, I think it's going to be an easy 2-0 for them. So I'm looking for Dragoon and Griffin to really just hold up and stand up and just pick powerful 2v2s and just match them and just be confident and fight versus them and not just pick something scaling.
And RMC, what about Odd Orange over on Maryville University? Because this is a team that's looked really good. I'd love a little bit more insight on what Odd Orange has been doing to help them get to this.
For sure. You know, like what Lorlo was saying, Odd Orange and Niles have looked really good together. Odd Orange has been playing towards that top side quite a bit to get Niles the resources he needs to really take over a game. But the interesting thing about Maryville as a whole is that they've been playing the early game really well as a team. Odd Orange doesn't exactly stand out on his own because he's been a facilitator. It's the way they interact together, you know, APA and now securing that sort of space for Odd Orange to be able to make those plays topside. Azog and Shady sometimes giving up resources as well to get those early objectives. And for Odd Orange, what I'm expecting to see is a bit that continued proactivity along with, you know, good macro movements in the early game, in contrast to Griffin, who's just been kind of brute forcing some of his way through the game here. Give him resources and Griffin will try and win fights on his own. One of the reasons why his KDA was a little bit lower there, because he also tends to be the first one in and maybe not always the coming out of the fight at all, much less the last one out.
Yeah, one more note on the one more note on the APA thing too. I'll play versus him in Champions Queue, and his laning has looked really good. Like when I was playing versus him in Champions Queue on my team as well, so I'm excited to see his lane phase. I wonder if he'll stack up well in these games. So I've been seeing him like stomp every game on my team in Champions Queue laning, so I'm excited for that.
Ooh, that little extra insight. I love that. We'll circle back to Griffin though, because the first clip that we have to highlight on the desk is about Griffin and just what he is capable of doing here, RMC.
Yeah, and the clips we have from the same game, he is one of the few players still playing Olaf under jungle right now, even above the likes of the Xin Zhao, the Hecarim. And if he gets an early lead, he can absolutely take over a game. You give him 1 or 2 kills, and suddenly, next thing you know, he's running down your Nexus at the end of it there. And it's so hard to stop him. And for that reason, I suspect that Olaf might potentially be banned away, or that for the side of Maryville, at least, they'll have to keep that in mind when they're drafting, that, hey, they might pick the Olaf, make sure we've got some sort of answer here.
I also see an action there. I hope I get an action today. I saw an action in that clip. I just want an action top. One game out of all these sets. Just give me one, please.
Just one, fingers crossed for you. That's for sure. The next clip, though, is actually about APA. So the nice thing about Maryville University is there's a bunch of really strong players on the roster, and that is why it's for the next clip. I love the insight, Lorlo, you also brought into APA. And we're going to take a look at the clip to RMC for what you can be telling us of this situation, what he's done for this team.
Yeah, so APA right now, like Lorlo mentioned, strong in lane, has picked a lot of Syndra, Nico, champions who are strong early, can take over, but his Rise stood out to me a lot as well. This is, I feel like, the stereotypical Maryville style right now, where you work together as a team, and when APA gets his hand on Rise, his Realm Warp is so good. We're seeing it used to engage, to disengage, even this one being particularly close, just barely snagging the dragon. It looks so clean, and because APA can flex these different styles of play here, it's very hard for the opponents. I expect to see quite some focus put into the mid lane in the ban phase here to try and pinch that pool a little bit, maybe force AP on something different, because so far in PGCQ2, I think we've only seen him on 4 champions, which is Syndra, Nico, Rise, and Victor. So I'd like to see them try and push him onto something else a little bit here.
Rise is so broken. Like, even recently people have been trying to flex it in the top 2, so on red side, if they pick it early, they can just flex it all the way down. I don't know if Niles will play it, but even just having the option in draft to flex it all the way through is threatening by itself. But that champion is disgusting. He's literally just the definition of a battle mage. He's just purely tank and DPS, everything in one. It's disgusting.
Okay, well, we'll circle back to that, because knowing that information, I kind of want to maybe change my prediction up a little bit. But getting into the predictions, we missed them last week, but we have a pet prediction. It's actually going to be Cindy's dog to let us know what they're thinking of this matchup.
Okay, that was fast.
No hesitate.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I thought there's always a little bit, but nope, just straight away. Maryville University. We'll go to the caster predictions to see if, they were quite as decisive with their answers. And
Okay.
sure enough, yeah, this is very favored for Maryville University. Only 2 people going for no team. It's worth noting as well, Deserex Crown over his head also going for Maryville. So that definitely holds a little bit of weight to it.
For sure. And, you know, I actually didn't expect it to be this Maryville favored in the predictions. I feel like we're doing no team a disservice. They are a good team, and, you know, I think their bot lane's really strong. Scooped coming in as well. Yeah, like you said, Sierra, it's making me rethink my own predictions a little bit here, looking at the caster predictions.
Well, then let's get our predictions up, because I'm kind of curious how this is going. Lorlo, though, we're going to start with you and your predictions, and then a reasoning why you think it's going to be shaking up that way.
Yeah, I'm personally going 2-0 with Maryville. Honestly, I think the top side for Maryville is probably going to outperform no team today. But in terms of like the ball lane, I'm kind of just like a big question mark for me. I'm curious to see how Scoop plays and Maryville's ball lane plays as well. And I think if the Scooped and no team's ball lane plays particularly well, that they can take games off Maryville. But I think the top side for Maryville in general will just run these games and it should be a clean 2-0.
All right, RMC, what about yourself?
Fair enough. I actually went 2-1 Maryville as well here. Similar to what Lorlo said, I think Maryville's top side is looking a little bit too scary right now, in their early game incredibly clean. The reason why I kind of gave the 1 over was because of, I think, Scooped and Jashuka. That bot lane has been really performing incredibly well. I think Azog and Shady have been playing for the team, so they haven't stood out quite as much here. But Scoop and Jashuka don't get that many resources as well for the most part. So if they can continue winning in isolation, that's, I think, the way in for no team here.
All right. For myself, I also went 2-0 in way of Maryville. I honestly, the fact that they were able to take a titan of a team down to get to this point, I feel like that sort of momentum, that sort of confidence, and being able to just keep going with that could prove to be wonderful. And I feel like, RMC, whenever we're on main channel on a Monday, we only see 2 O's. So that's why I specifically went for that score line. But I don't know. It'll definitely be a good matchup, but do you think with how heavily skewed the predictions are in Maryville's favor that we're not really respecting what no team can do enough, or is that just speaking to Maryville's strength here of RMC?
I think part of that's also just the recency bias of watching Maryville take down 100 Thieves Snakes, because I think any team that takes down 100x right now is a titan of a team. So I understand and I respect that the 2-0's coming through. And personally, I hope we get a full 3-game series, because I think this one's going to be good, and the more of these teams we get to see, the better.
I definitely agree. Lorlo, do you also think it's like that little biasy, or do you think just Maryville University, this is like just the team to be watching right now?
I think any top side that can take out General Sniper right now, and his team is just Insanity as well, I think is going to be clear favorites. I think General Sniper and Insanity are just menaces, and they were able to stack up and just win versus them. So I think no team is nothing but an uphill battle for this game, and if they win, it'll be a big surprise for me. But I think Maryville will take it 2-0.
All right. Now, the most important question in debate of the day, we asked the players what they were thinking of the hottest new debate going on right now, whether there's more doors or more wheels in the world. This is how it's shaken up. A little of biasy towards wheels here, but still pretty close across the board. I would love to start some beef with you two, whether you're team door or team wheel.
Okay, you know what? I saw production put up doors there. I disagree. I'm team wheel, man. I mean, look at a car. A car has 5 wheels, 4 doors, right? And for every car there's 1 more wheel than there is a door.
Where does this even originate from? Even my Twitch chat was telling me, like, they were asking me as well, and I'm like, are these guys serious with these questions? I'm like, is this a real question right now? It's the same thing for me. I think I'm team wheels too. I'm with you, RMC. I'm with you.
I mean, I'm team doors. Not everybody owns a vehicle.
No.
But then you get into a house, there's multiple doors. You get into an apartment building, you're getting into office buildings, and then the amount of doors inside of each one of those particular buildings, like...
I think I'm gonna be walking out my door in a second here.
I'm with you, Laurel. I mean, we're all sitting on chairs. All our chairs, I think, are rolly chairs, right? They've got wheels, right? So.
Yeah, my chair has like 6 wheels at least, I think. I think we're still winning. I'm just saying.
I mean, I still feel like there's more doors. You got a fridge door. You get the freezer door. There's other doors.
Okay, I could lean in. Okay, but I'm still Team Wheels. I could see it. I'll give you it. But I'm still Team Wheels.
We just got it, you know, the worst thing coming out of production was they tried to argue wagon wheels and cheese wheels was all for the wheel side of things, and I think...
Exactly!
No, I was gonna say I think we can all agree that that is absurd. I guess not. Apparently production too, they're split enough that they're saying, yeah, no, they thought it was wheels and not doors, or the other way. Whatever was on the graphic the other way, we're having wheels. This was heated. This was a big part of our, you know, beginning of things. But if you want to get involved on the debate and, you know, pick the right side, hashtag Team Doors, you can do so tweeting the hashtag We Are Unified. We can talk about the matchups during the day, who you're rooting for, who you think is going to be coming out on top, or you're taking this debate, because obviously this is some super important stuff. We are going to send it to a quick break before we get started with the game as we get the lobby all started up, but after that is going to be no team going up against Maryville University.
All right. Okay. You know, I don't even know how to start this beatdown. I'm Jolly. I'm going to be your play-by-play. I'm still hung up on the, on the door/wheel conversation here, beatdown. And I you know, first, I'm going to get your opinion on it first, because I'm leaning towards the wheels. And I got to say, the cheese wheel, that's genius. All right, that to me, that's like, that's so clever. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I agree with it, okay?
Yeah, Jolly, there's cheese wheel, there's steering wheel, all things Sierra refuses to acknowledge here. And all I really want to say on that is, Sierra, stick to hosting.
The wheel of
philosophy,
time.
Maybe not your thing. The wheel of time, exactly. All things that those fools on Team Door refuse to acknowledge, refuse to accept. It's just...
I did like some of the Twitch comments. I saw somebody saying, there's doors on cabinets and containers. Bro, that's a lid.
True.
That's
Wait,
a lid, bro.
Cabinets
Hold on.
works, containers no.
I don't screw my door on, okay, at the end of the day, all right?
I mean, some people could, you know, just unscrew the hinges. I'm not saying it's optimal.
Screw. You just take it with you wherever you go, like, this is my door. You can get whatever you want from inside the house, but this door, that's mine.
That's the world these door people want to live in. That's what you got to really think about here.
Yeah, it's true. All right, okay. Now that we're done with that, we can talk about the amazing series 2. We really did. Both of us were like, what are we listening to? What is going on? And how is everyone so wrong? But all right, Sierra, we're sorry. I apologize, because I know that we're now at this point kind of ganging up on you. But we do have 2 amazing series ahead of us, and starting the day off with this Maryville no team is honestly... I would rather, it's beautiful outside, I would rather be nowhere but here right now in front of my computer with the blinds closed. Yeah, who needs to touch grass when I can watch these players face off in this best of 3? And I know that you want to see 6 games. I'd love to see 6 games out of these, and when it comes to seeding that's so close to this playoff point, that's the expectation, is that everybody recognize how big how much this means, how big this series is going to be for themselves. So I don't know about you. I personally refuse to vote against no team now, since they wrote me a letter. I'm basically contractually obligated. They wrote me a letter in apologizing to me. It was in the first closed qualifier. I was the only one that voted for them. It didn't turn out to be a good series, but they've really turned things around as a team, especially just compared to that first qualifier as we get through this first phase of bans.
They have been looking a lot better, and of course they are locked in that top 6 spot as well. And I think that's the interesting thing I just kind of want to pivot over to, because Maryville, it's worth noting, Maryville Saints are the ones who hold the points from that first tournament. I've been talking about it ever since quarters, and how big a deal it is for Maryville University, basically starting in the second qualifier from scratch here, not only making it into the top 10, but also now fighting for a chance to avoid the play-in stage that's going to be starting later on this week.
Yeah, EGP, I think, is the team that's actually going to have to kind of face the burden of that if this is something that Maryville is able to pull through. So EGP has their fingers crossed right now. They want no team to take this one. It makes their run a lot easier in the long run. And as we can see, the first couple of champions getting locked in, no big surprise priority right now is on Scooped and Azog. We saw the recap. We saw the pentakill that Scoop got on this Jinx. We've also seen Azog, having picked up the Zeri a lot recently, has been performing exceptionally well on it. And of course, when you give Odd Orange this Lee Sin, it's something you always have to watch out for.
For sure, and you can see a lot of priority there on No Team side, banning out APA. Ever since this guy joined the roster, the dude has been playing incredibly, and you can see it in the respect people are putting towards him here. I think the Zeri is really good for Maryville because it's one of Azog's best champions, at least if you're looking at the recent games and what he has been playing on. So I think that bodes really well for Maryville, who usually play towards this top side of the map. But it is about odd orange on champs like Lee Sin, enabling the rest of his team, unlocking the solo laners, especially when you get them on things like that gangplank hover that we're seeing there for Niles. If we see something like that come through, if we see him go for something like the Jace, either way, it's definitely something Maryville can look to play towards.
It's a lot of damage already on this team as they are hovering that gangplank. I do like the pickup here by No Team to say, okay, you know what? You guys got the Zeri, but you're not going to get the Lulu to go along with it. By far the best combination in terms of that bot duo support lane. So it is a good thing that they've locked that out. That means it's going to be a Jinx Lulu bottom lane that we're seeing. So they're going to be pretty vulnerable in the early parts of the game, but I think No Team is okay with that, especially considering how aggressive Griffin likes to get in the early game. And speaking of early game aggression, I think Odd Orange is absolutely up there at the forefront of people's minds when we think about really quick clears and really quick invades into lanes.
Right, and we talk about Griffin too, being that player for No Team and they mentioned it on the desk, he's really good at taking resources from the team. They play for him, and he manages to really excel in those scenarios when he's able to pick up leads. That's why you're seeing Maryville ban away the Aatrox and look towards that top pool, because they're saying, we know you're not playing this Dragoon. That one is probably going to be for Griffin in the jungle, because we are on 12-4. Gwen hasn't received the nerf yet that she's gotten on 12-5, and Jungle Gwen is perfectly viable at the moment here. So now it's just going to be about trying to secure yourself strong laners, so make it easier for Odd Orange to be able to pressure Griffin in the early game, because that's what Maryville are really good at doing here. You give them these early game aggressive jungler for Odd Orange, you get APA and Niles lanes where they can get the push, and on this top side of the map, that's where Maryville run the show.
That's where we can see Maryville trying to ban out some counters to that gangplank. The Oxshot being locked away. The Aatrox being taken away there from Griffin. So high priority on
Lorlo's
Maryville.
sad now.
Oh, Lorlo's very sad, of course. I mean, hey, you know what? You reveal something like that, of course, we've seen so much of Lorlo, whether it's in this scene, whether you've been watching the pro scene. You know, he's been around for a really long time and always has some good advice to these players. And of course, No Team, it looks like, is going for that support, and two very good ones against the Lulu, which makes it really difficult to play this vulnerable lane. The Nautilus, the Pike. Does look like the hover might be on. First it was the Rakan, maybe now it is the Renata. We'll have to see what Maryville locks in. This Renata-Zeri combination is not one you see incredibly often, but it can be extremely effective, especially when it comes to a vulnerable duo lane on the opposite side. And I prefer the Rakan, I really do.
Yeah, I mean, plus they're just memeing around. Renata is disabled for this tournament anyway, so yeah, they're just messing around. So you do
they always get me.
You remove a lot of the engage options there on No Team. Of course, there are still other ones available, like we're seeing the Rakan come through. The Alistar could be an oh wait, no, we already have the Lulu support. So at this point, sorry, this isn't solo queue. We're not going to see like the Yuumi Alistar top lane. Forgive me, but at this point, it's just going to be about okay. So we are seeing this is the Dragoon special, where this is one of his most played champs. The dude has so much experience on it, and if he gets ahead in the matchup, he can start to run the show here. When we think about mids left in the game, I mean, the Ahri is probably all I can really think of when it comes to getting early mid push, being able to fight for priority here, and APA is definitely going to have to dig deep into the pool if this Ahri ends up getting locked away. I mean, lucky for him, APA is a player who we know has quite the champ pool here. We've been seeing him play things like the Nico, but those who know probably have seen him play the Aurelion Sol. Maybe that isn't something he brings out here, but that is always something to keep in mind.
I was thinking, maybe Twisted Fate, maybe Vex even. I know that she has not been as common recently when it comes to the long range here. Against something like the Ahri is good. Cassiopeia, even Veigar has recently been another good pick. Just when it comes to trying to get some lockdown or ranged lockdown, that's probably who I'd go with. It is going to be the Cassiopeia lock-in, though. Poison, high-scaling champion. And hey, you know what? You don't have to worry about boots with her, right?
Yeah, that's right. She can't buy boots. I like the pick too, because one, you aren't going to have as much pressure in the early game. You're not going to be getting that early game push like we're used to seeing from APA or a lot of other mids, but it works with what Maryville are trying to do as a whole here. You have Cass, you have Zeri, you have Gangplank, all champs who are really good at kiting. And you can see No Team, they're trying to move into them. They're trying to run them down. So this ends up working pretty well for Maryville, especially if they find some of these early leads through plays from Odd Orange and manage to get themselves at these objectives first. Because what that means is having to face check, having to walk into the champions Maryville have is something that no team are going to have to worry about quite a bit, especially because you have an early game jungler in the Gwen who isn't very strong early. Champs like Gwen, Hecarim, and things like that, very vulnerable in the first 5-6 minutes of the game when they're going through their first couple of clears, and Maryville are usually teams who punish that sort of thing.
Oh, absolutely. And not only that, but you got to consider too the fact that, I mean, like you were saying, no team needs not even an early lead. That's the point, is they just need to kind of stall out the early first part of the game, and if they can do that, sure, they set themselves up for success, but Maryville has so many opportunities along the way to trip them up. However, if no team does somehow actually pick up an early lead here, if you get the Darius stacked up early, you know, if you get this Ahri popping off with a few kills, that means that it is Maryville that has to kind of be concerned about the wandering and the roaming coming out of no team. If they kind of open up the mid game earlier than they might normally get the opportunity to, if they get a couple of good plays, then they're setting themselves up for success when it leads over towards the later parts. But of course, you also have to consider all of the scaling that is available on the side of Maryville. There's plenty of that. There's some good crowd control on top of it. I love Rakan when it comes to late game. Even if you're a little bit behind, Rakan can really supply a turn in a big fight for your team. So I'm liking what I'm seeing for both of these teams. I like how aggressive they both are. They're not saying, okay, frontline initiators. Now we're talking about raw damage. We're talking about pure beginning to end, just takedowns from here to there. And I mean, this is the opportunity for them to not hold back, right? So I can't expect that any of that's going to happen.
And you know what, too? I think that your point about no team, if they can get to those later parts of the game, I think they're in a really good position. I agree with you, especially because we know people like Blaze, especially, always playing these roam champs where you get prio, you leave, and you play for Griffin. If Griffin even gets some of the slightest of leads, he is that kind of player who can take it and carry it all the way till the enemy nexus explodes here. So you got both of these teams who have very clear ways they want to play things out in this early game, and it is going to be, I think on Maryville's side, we look at Odd Orange. These two junglers, big talking points for the team, but they do opposite things. We know Odd Orange, he's great at playing for his laners, great at setting up for people like Niles and APA, and the rest of the team on no team are the ones who play for Griffin here. So this clash of styles also is going to be really exciting.
This is the hardest part of the broadcast for me, is after we see draft, but we have to wait for that delay before we can actually go into the game, because at this point now it's us anticipating, right, how this is going to play out, what we're used to seeing these teams and these individual particular players execute, you know, whether it's the early part, the mid part, or the late part of the game. So I do have to say, the good things that we've been seeing out of these coaches, too, is something that I want to highlight. Of Jensen in particular, who's a fantastic guy. He's been in the scene for quite a while, and both Maryville University and the Maryville Saints are the teams that he's coaching, so he's kind of spread himself a little bit thin, but it doesn't matter. You can see that there is improvement across the teams, really, you know, as far as he can push it. So I do like to highlight, of course, Puka on the other side has been doing a great job. And you know what? If you got an organization that's going to be writing an apology letter to a caster that voted for them, like you got a good org behind you right there.
Right, I mean, and then just to continue that point about no team too, like they're a team where, yeah, they got a coaching staff, but no sponsors, no nothing going for them there. It is like that kind of amateur, sort of almost Cinderella story type deal where they're just coming together, a lot of good players who don't have a team or anything like that, and are just about just seeing how far it is they can really go here. They've already qualified for Proving Grounds. They want to hold on to their spot in the standings, as they don't even have to go for the play-ins here, and they've done a lot for themselves.
Right. Now we're just waiting. We're just waiting at this point. We've just got a minute or two. You know, I do like the fact that you actually highlight that there, Beatdown, because, you know, I like to touch on some of the behind-the-scenes thing, right? We at least get a little bit of a highlight for the coaches. You get to see it there during draft, but the org backing is really important, right? And how much Maryville has invested in esports in general is huge. I mean, I've been to the campus. I've gotten to see around, you know, what they have to offer for their students, and it's absolutely incredible. And for no team to be standing up here against a team that has been in the collegiate amateur scene for quite a long time. Of course, these players on no team, they are not shy of veterancy themselves. They come in with a lot of history within the League of Legends team. But then you've got newer players too that are popping off, like Griffin, who is a young player that no team really relies on for the early parts of the game, that we always love to see, especially in a role like jungle, right? Which is so just volatile, especially right now with the way that the current meta is, how jungle is very important. And you need the support of your team, as well as, you know, being the one that's probably going to take the blame if you're doing solo queue. So Griffin has been performing well. We heard the interview as well that I think was that Cubby had some interviews that were running earlier, and Griffin talking about, you know, spending time at school and then going back into the game and, you know, not having a ton of time now that things are kind of back in motion with COVID, everything having gone crazy and online, and, you know, having the advantage of playing online previously. Now it's back to normal. Now it's back to the standard grind. You can tell that he's feeling it, but it's not really showing in his gameplay.
No, not at all here. And that's why it's going to be really exciting. I mean, Griffin, too, a player we talk about a lot. He's, I think, 15 years old. Still so young, still so much promise, and it's so exciting to see here in these qualifying tournaments where, you know, you can, as long as you have a team, as long as you perform, you can get to that higher level there and face off against some of the better teams in North America as a whole. Of course, Proving Grounds, as we all know, will allow these amateur teams to play up against academy players and academy teams. So it will be really exciting to see how those matches end up playing out. And I mean, back to this one too. We talk about no team and how they play for Griffin and everything like that. It's interesting because in their the only time we've ever really seen them recently struggle is when someone kind of plays their style and beats them to it here. In this against Ginger Turmeric, it was a game where they ended up going for the Olaf, something along those lines. Okay, and in that situation, City Witty was on the Kindred, and his team managed to play for him better here. That's something Maryville aren't going to be able to do. Is going to be about the solo laners as we're in game now finally, Charlie.
We're finally in game. Oh my gosh, I try to count down the seconds. Of course, that's not possible for me to do because obviously we have to talk here. But it's a pretty standard start across the board. You just got the split, no crazy invades, nothing too insane. Maryville probably looking to get some vision down here around the red buff. A Q getting popped off from Azog, but Jashuka has eyes, so that ward is not going to be able to be placed.
Right now, I mean, early vision is going to be really important for what we were highlighting in draft because we know that Odd Orange is going to be stronger in the early game, like against someone like Griffin. So being able to get an idea of where he's clearing, the direction he's going, will make it so that one, of course, Scooped and Jashuka, in this case, will know around that 3-minute mark, okay, the Lee Sin could show up. And Griffin can also be like at around the 3-minute mark, oh, maybe the Lee Sin will show up on my red buff.
We do before we, okay, of course, as I try to say that, it's Jashuka who gets jumped on here. Shady and Azog play a nice little game on him in the bush. That's the ignite down. That's the flash out from Jashuka. Scooped, saves the day, provides a lot of damage and response here on both Shady and Azog. What a great turnaround from the standout player on No Team. Definitely one that I'm going to be keeping eyes on throughout the game here. We do, of course, have a little special celebration. I think we got it's somebody's birthday, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
so we've got TJ. Imagine having to play Maryville on TJ's birthday. The gap today will be astronomical. Happy birthday, TJ. We love to see it, and we love to help celebrate, you know, with these folks. And where would you rather do it than on Summoner's Rift, right, Beatdown?
I mean, that depends who you ask, but yeah, you're right. Happy birthday, TJ, and that is really exciting thing there for Maryville. I guess it's their equivalent of Taco Tuesday, except of course it's only once a year right now, unless it's like every time someone in the org has a birthday. So then maybe there's something there.
Yeah, maybe there is. Yeah, you know, it's a good sign for them on that day. Taco Tuesday, we know there was some consistency within that for Taco Gaming. We also know that we have seen, you know, that trend kind of break in the past, especially on the Taco 2-2 Tuesday that we had a month ago on, you know, 2/22/22. But we'll see if that actually works out here. APA is getting so much damage down here. You do have the dot already applied here onto Blaze. He's going to have to take a second or two before recalling.
Oh, not ready. Actually, I'm going to hold that thought. This is the timer we were talking about. Here comes Hot Orange.
There it is, already in the wings. A beautiful grand entrance right there onto Jashuka. That means Azog is going to be able to pick up the first blood. No problem. The rest of Maryville just splitting away from this fight and Scooped all alone.
Well played. You taking advantage of the fact that of that level 1 bush play where Jashuka had to flash, and you could see it. Odd Orange is like, yeah, I don't even care about you, Scooped. I'm going for that Lulu. No flash means no problem for first blood going over to Azog. We talked about it too. He's just really good on the Zeri. Oh my god, Scooped is in trouble.
Oh, Scooped is really in trouble. It's actually Shady. Oh my goodness, the flash response. The instant flash and heal from both Scooped and Azog right there to try to pick up the last shot. You can see the little thumbs up, the little B coming out of Scooped. Definitely a win for him, even though both of his summoners were expended.
Right, I mean, Azog did use both of theirs as well, though you do have less gank pressure to worry about. The only thing really now is watching for Blaze, of course. You may be able to get a decent roam timer and move across the map. But ultimately, so far, Maryville, really solid in this early game, exactly what we were expecting here. And now, because of that, you see Griffin moving around, setting up vision, trying to see if he can catch out on any potential camps. The only thing is he couldn't go deep enough to check the Krugs, and they're going to be up and available. And actually, you can tell that they are kind of aware of this, so Odd Orange instead is going to look and see if he can make a top play there for Niles.
Shady on the way as
Shady's
well.
here too.
Yep, Shady is there too. They just navigate right around Griffin. You can see the pings actually coming out saying, hey, we know Griffin is around this Raptor camp. We know they're in the area. That Sonic Wave is not going to hit, so Odd Orange just making a presence here and trying to get some more pressure for the top side of the map until Griffin decides to appear, which now at this point isn't going to be a really fruitful option for him. Shady navigating down to the mid, just providing more pressure, exactly what he needs, especially with Zeri being so capable down there in the hands of Azog.
And even though Odd Orange wasn't able to find much of everything, he manages to help Niles get that lane shove, actually seeming like he's going to be able to keep the teleport as well. It's going to be a big deal. He's just going to walk his way back to lane. And as a result, Griffin isn't even that far ahead in farm. Of course, he has more camps up, so will maybe pull a little further ahead, but it's a really good use of Maryville's early game power, and this is exactly what we were expecting here. And not a whole lot. Or actually, things are probably going to get better in some ways for Maryville because APA is getting closer to that level 6 mark. Now he has the tier as the Cassiopeia. The fact that he was getting the better of some of those really early level trades is really important because he didn't allow Blaze any of those early opportunities to be able to leave lane. Now the fact that since he gets level 6, he can start to look to get a little more aggressive once he has access to that Petrifying Gaze.
Petrifying Gaze. He's also got the Exhaust available. We can see the Blaze has already used that teleport to recall and get back into lane pretty early on, and that has to do with those solid trades. And we see right there, level 6 has been hit, the experience advantage in favor of APA, and as we see that right here, there's some questions. This is so much fun. I love reading these sheets that we get of, you know, questions being asked, and a lot of the players do answer. We don't get answers from every single player, but which teammate would you trust with your life on a deserted island, and why? And APA says Niles, because he's the GOAT. That's all you need to support Niles.
It's simple. Is it just so short and sweet, cut and dry? He's the GOAT, and that's exactly why. Maryville also secure themselves that first dragon, of course, because Griffin getting towards that level 6 mark where we're really going to start to potentially see him try and make potential gank attempts, something along those lines. Yeah, I mean, he's playing Gwen, so this is kind of what we expect. Definitely not very much ganks you can do. Even a Hecarim at like level 4 or 5, if you got a good angle, you do have some CC with the Devastating Charge, so it makes sense. Griffin's just trying to steal away camps and stuff like that. And also, I like this question too.
Yeah, he's been pretty successful with this too. Obviously, we see that he's got the level advantage. Odd Orange going to try to go in to snake this away.
Can he?
So Griffin's trying to pull the aggro out, recognizes, okay, I'm not going to win on that one. I don't quite have eyes here. We can see that Shady has moved up. But yeah, if you had to describe yourself as an animal, which one would it be? Griffin says a lion, because I'm the king. I love that answer so much. This is the kind of, that's the typical answer that we're going to get from players like Griffin. Honestly, any of the players on this no team, no matter how well they do, they always play the ego game, and we love to see that come to fruition.
Yeah, and I think too, the fact that Griffin is having a little bit of trouble going for some of these invades, being able to steal very many camps, and I think part of it is because Shady, when you're in this Rakan matchup versus the Lulu being the Enchanter, you're not going to see as many roams come through because they aren't going to have as value earlier on into the game. So that means Shady's been able to be all over the map, have this pressure, and even though it hasn't really resulted in any kills, it's really allowed Maryville to play this game at their own pace here. And I mean, this is what we expect from Shady. Like, he's that kind of player where he borderline runs the map and is so good at finding a lot of these openings to leave lane and have that impact.
I do think we also have a player on no team that might be sick. So hopefully that doesn't affect their gameplay. I don't know exactly who it is, but the last thing you want in a situation like this where we're talking about semifinals, we're talking about big points being applied for, you know, later on, whether it comes to the actual Proving Grounds event later or really just the play-ins to be expected here. Anyone who's sick is always a devastating moment, but apparently they're still capable of playing. Let's take another look at these questions. I love this. This makes the downtime so easy for us to beat down. What's your favorite motto or quote you live by? And Blaze says, nothing specific, but anything Arnold Schwarzenegger says is good. Honestly, you say it with the accent that he has, and it's true. Everything sounds good.
I mean, she's got some banger lines too. I won't lie. So I gotta understand. You know what, Jolly? Actually, I might ask after this play because now that Odd Orange is level 6, has access to that Dragon's Rage, could potentially see a play come through here. No 6 for Shady, but still a lot of damage available.
Griffin looking for something here too onto APA. APA pushing a little bit forward. Just one more step, and that would have been the opportunity for Griffin to go in. So Blaze just making sure that there was no ward in this bush. It turns out there is not. So the charm comes through. It's the exhaust onto Griffin. It's so much damage on the Blaze, though, who will likely go down to the poison. And it's 2 more members of Maryville University that are here. The needlework comes out. Shady has to flash away from this fight, and Jashuka has managed to become a part of it in time to save the life of Griffin. Dragoon all the way from the top. Jashuka with the flash in actually has the ignite on, is going to be able to pick it up, the ignite, and the glitter lands. Beautifully done. Jashuka says you're not getting away that easily, and no team pick up a couple kills for themselves.
Even through the ignite, Griffin, he manages to heal enough to secure that kill onto APA, and honestly, this is kind of insane from APA, I'm not going to lie. Despite the fact, right as the charm was coming out, he's already going to throw out that Petrifying Gaze, and manages to get that 1-for-1 trade onto Blaze. And I think if that situation, if that's all that happened, you're okay with that. You'll walk away with it being like, oh, okay, you know what? It's fine. It's not a big deal. But what happens after, too, is that they do end up walking down. Jashuka ends up walking down Shady. So there's time where he'll be off of the map as well. So it does end up being this kind of 2-for-1 trade, but honestly, you got to give props to APA.
What a bold play.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, props to APA for sure, being able to pick up that kill to start things off, right? And even just honestly, definitely winning out in this 1v1, right? As we take a look at the gold, no big surprise, it's going to be Azog, who picked up that first blood, has his first item finished right there, so we can see in the Immortal Shield Bow. And Griffin has pretty, just right now, pretty quickly taken over on that. So it's very back and forth. And that's because Griffin has spent so much time just focusing on pressuring these camps, has also been able to pick up now that 1 kill and gotten that 1 assist on that mid play.
Right, and I think at least you gotta give, he hasn't Odd Orange hasn't fallen too far behind either. I think is good because Griffin, like we talked about, Griffin being that kind of player where he gets these small leads and he really starts to snowball. He really starts to get his way towards that end of the game there where he becomes such a late game monster here. He's right now, though, we actually have Niles on a pretty interesting roam opportunity here. I actually like this. This is kind of the culmination of him saving his teleport a few minutes ago because before it's unleashed, the cooldown is so low. That means that he can show up just to help Maryville secure this dragon, and he can TP back and not actually lose out on much.
That second dragon again going over to Maryville too. Just a slight gold lead in favor of no team right now, thanks to the pressure primarily that Dragoon has had here in this top lane, and Griffin is going to try to supplement that with maybe a takedown onto Niles. It's going to be a really risky play, though. They're just picking up plates. They finally now start the aggression. It's so much damage. The ultimate comes through from Dragoon. He's not going to pick up the kill, but that's okay because Griffin will find it himself. And that is some extra plates, extra gold going to the pockets of no team.
And that is brutal. It's right after Niles uses the teleport. He ends up going into his doom. And this is some of that early snowballing we're talking about. Griffin now gets an extra kill, a lot of extra gold, and that bonus gold from taking down the first turret. Odd Orange and Shady, all they're showing up means is that Shelly will not get a charge onto the second turret, but this is a big jump, a big spike in gold there for the side of no team. And that also means Azog, of course, because the support show top, has to be very careful.
Ooh, speaking of being careful, Griffin needs to here, but same thing can be said about Odd Orange. Griffin is on the run, taking a lot of that burn damage, does avoid the Sonic Wave, though, and will get out with his life. But that means that Odd Orange is going to steal away this blue buff from his side of the jungle. In the meantime, though, Scooped and Jashuka picking up some plates of their own, and no team increasing that gold lead in their favor pretty quickly with 1 minute still left on the plates.
Right, and you're starting to see it kind of culminate in pretty much every part of the map except the mid lane here. You see Dragoon has like a 30 CS up on Niles, partially just because he's been CSing well, and of course the play that happened top just a minute ago. Bot lane, you're seeing Scoop get ahead because of the fact that Shady's been out of lane so much, and Azog, being that Zeri was very weak early, has to respect, has to back off, sacrifice some golden XP to make sure you're not giving away too much here.
See how much they can get for themselves, though. This is kind of, the point that we were talking about is Maryville expected to have the early lead, right? We saw that definitely within the first 8-9 minutes of the game, but no team was able to pretty quickly collect some equalizing things of their own on their side of the map. And you know, 3K differential, a little bit less than that actually. It's only a little over 2K. It's not a huge deal considering how many plates have been popped, and now it is going to be a big ultimate.
Oh, is that a kill?
Griffin
Oh, yeah.
gets taken down. It absolutely is. Shady says, I can supply that one. I'll throw out the quickness just to be sure. Azog barely had to burn anything. The ultimate did go down there at the end, though.
That's honestly a pretty big deal there. You pick up the shutdown, and Azog, who's going to be that big source of damage in the late game, being able to get that is really nice. And you get Griffin off of the map for a little bit. That's going to give Odd Orange that opportunity to recall. They can play for that second Rift Herald there as no team got the first one. I think ultimately, overall, just well played by Azog and Shady to pick up that shutdown. And now if we see them move to that top side, get Dragoon off the map off of a play, you're already seeing the assist pinks come through. It'll be an easy way to get that second neutral.
No problems for them. Jashuka and Scooped moving around like the duo that they are, and they are going to be the ones here to start out this second Rift Herald. The rest of the team so quickly showing up in the wings here. And we can see, if you take a look at the vision, a lot of that has been placed down by Maryville. You see little red specks all over the mini-map, and that's what's been able to allow them to kind of support some of these initiations that they had towards the mid side, but they have just given up that second Rift Herald. They have to have known for Maryville that no team was heading in that direction. Sure, they cleaned out some of their own jungle, but it does set them just a little bit farther behind.
Oh man, and this is tough too. We talked about how important top side of the map would be for Maryville University, but it's no team who are snowballing their top side, where you see so much gold in Dragoon's pocket, so much gold into Griffin's pocket, and these two players are going to be very monstrous going into that later part of the game here, and it's going to make it harder for what we were alluding to in draft, that hope that Maryville can get some of these lane advantages and move into objectives first, because that's how their comp ends up playing out. You want no team to walk into you. You want to be able to just safely kite away and throw out all the damage and abilities that you have here. But right now, it's hard because it's looking like Maryville are going to be the ones who will have to do the face checking, especially for whatever side of the map you put Dragoon on. Because now, when you want to start prioritizing Dragon stacking, because you gave it the first two, you can have Dragoon move to the bottom side. You can have him pressure turrets, have that jungle hover coming through, and make it impossible for Maryville to get priority in the lane that they really want.
We just saw a little quote pop up there too for a moment. I think it's talking about APA always playing ahead. That's right. Y'all did see that, right? There we go. There it is. All right, APA may not be able to play Rise in game one, but I bet he still builds like it. Watch out for the Rift Maker, take Tech, and of course that's Rude Dude, who is very well informed, as we all know. We're very familiar with Rude Dude here in the talent seed for Proving Grounds, and you know, maybe we're not seeing exactly the Rift Maker. We're not seeing the take build. It is the Ever for us. It has been picked up here, which I think is the smart call to make, but that is definitely a thing for APA, right? Go aggressive take. It's been working on a lot of these mid laners. The flash away from APA does end up getting charmed out. It doesn't matter how much take you've got. It's not going to help there. Griffin finds it. The ultimate comes out from Scooped just in case the pickup didn't come through from the rest of no team. But that's even more pressure across the map. And this is what I was talking about in speed balling, getting really early access to this mid game, right? This later game for no team. It's really starting to come to fruition as this one extends and as they maintain pressure in the top and now the bottom sides of the map.
That's tough. So it wasn't Dragoon that they moved on. Instead, it was the rest of the team. Dragoon pushing mid and having the rest of the team go for that dive onto APA bottom side. Even with the cannon barrage, he had still fallen. And I mean, credit to Griffin dodging that petrifying gaze as well. I think that's the only thing that might have saved him. And now, no team really starting to pull ahead here in all the places that do matter. And now you can see how they're able to get to these objectives first, and how now this is probably going to be the beginning of them stacking a good amount of Cloud Souls, unless Maryville are the ones to make these similar kinds of plays. And we're already seeing it because Blaze is in trouble.
Definitely in trouble. The flash away from Blaze. The ultimate's probably going to come out. That Spirit Rush. Niles takes a lot of damage, has to flash out of this one, and it's a lot onto Shady too, but 4v1 is not going to work in favor for Blaze. Griffin comes in a little bit late for this fight, so won't be able to hold the tower. Ooh, nice little attempt there with the Super Mega Death Rocket again from Scooped.
And now resets are coming through. just to make sure someone answers the top wave and doesn't allow Dragoon to keep splitting. But the fact that he's such a split push threat does mean that you are giving up pressure mid because Azog has to do this one by himself. And it means that Scooped is really starting to get up there in terms of farm, being that player we highlighted it as being flying a little under the radar, being a great team fighter. And I think RMC said it on the desk, is great on the Jinx. Got a pentakill on it very recently here. So no team looking really good when we get to these team fights in the coming minutes here, especially with Baron being up in about a minute's time. So Maryville, the ones who are falling behind, the ones who are going to need to continue trying to force these plays so that they can catch up into the game. The bright side is APA has been getting a good amount of these kills. So has Azog. And those are two of the big players that we're looking for in this game to be able to try and output the damage. But it's tough. You're already seeing it in the gold charts there. Yeah. Where 3 members of no team are ahead of everybody else.
And, that's a pretty big dive for Azog, who was at the top of this leaderboard for gold in the early parts of the game. Of course, that has to do with having picked up the early kill, getting that first blood, right? They were able to be the first ones to finish that mythic item on the bottom side of the map, but things have definitely equalized themselves out. The pressure that you were talking about, Scooped getting, and honestly, the navigation of no team has kind of been dictating the responses coming out of Maryville, which is definitely something that Maryville can't really continue to allow happen. They need to be the ones making some of these proactive plays. They're going to try to do it right here and right now with this dragon. It's not coming up for another couple of minutes, but they want to ensure that no team doesn't have pressure on this bottom side of the map, so maybe they can make their way towards the top, and we can see that no team is already there.
Yep.
The teleport's now coming through. The Baron has been started the moment that it comes into play. The ultimate now, Cannon Barrage coming out of Niles to try to proxy no team away from this Baron, and that is going to force a reset.
Yeah, you do force the teleport out of Niles going for that play. I like the call. You do end up trading it for Blaze's teleport. Because of the Cannon Barrage, no team forced to back away. But they can do this one again. They really want to in a couple of minutes because their Baron take is going to be very, very quick. And we know that Maryville are going to be wanting to make these plays in the side lane to try and get themselves back in this game in terms of gold. And if it's on the bottom side of the map, that's something no team could look to punish. It's tough because APA especially did run the exhaust and not the teleport, so if he's caught on the other side of the map, when everyone on no team are good to start the Baron, Maryville will be in a tough position.
It will. Yeah, that exhaust does help out, right? We've seen it only come into play once or twice. It hasn't been as fruitful as APA might have hoped on that one. Blaze, of course, doesn't have the teleport up and available right now. You also have to consider, though, with Dragoon being this Darius, no need for the teleport. You might as well, you'd rather have the Ghost on this one. So there's at least a little bit of a flip-flop, a comparison there to say, okay, there's only one teleport for either of these teams, which is very minimal for sure. But that means that mobility is definitely coming into play, especially with these dragons that we're going to be seeing. Jishuko, woo! Taking a lot of damage right there coming out of Niles. So the pressure is on from Maryville here in the mid lane. See, there's the charm onto Griffin as the quickness comes out.
Oh,
so much damage onto Shady. Auto Orange will end up going down. He takes Griffin down with him, though. Scooped, picking up the kill on that one. Azog doing a lot of damage on the backside, allowing Dragoon to get into the fight.
Nice
Blaze gets locked down, actually, as the flash away from the fight after getting exhausted. Dragoon still on the fight, though. Out comes the double kill. The Ghost is in play. So much damage onto Niles. The triple kill with the execution there. And 4 members of Maryville go down. That means that no team should be able to pick up this Baron.
Oh, Dunkmaster Dragoon with the Ghost comes in to save the day there. And it looked like Maryville were going to be able to kite this one out. But you can see it, Maryville really wanted to get this turret down. And because of that, you see Shady commit to the play. You see them all in and go 1-for-1 in junglers. But the problem is, look at the minimap. The solo laners are starting to come in. They are starting to go for that pincer. And despite Azog and Niles' best efforts in the coming minute, there was no way Maryville were going to walk away from that one.
That is a tough one.
That was one auto, by the way.
So, yeah, that was exactly right. So much dang damage coming here out of Dragoon. And that was a really good, honestly, the initiation on that was really good from no team, right? It looked pretty scary. You ended up having a really big commitment from Maryville at the start of that, and I think that was the big part of that play. Odd Orange going down pretty early, taking a couple too many tower shots, and then Scooped being able to stay up and say, all right, I'm popping off shots. I'm just going to corral, wrangle them up to you, Dragoon. You take over, and when you've got Ghost on that champion, it's very hard to get away from someone like Darius, and that was definitely what Maryville experienced here. Now, it is a pretty big advantage over to No Team. We're looking at about 5,000 gold in their favor. They have been able to pick up that next dragon, so they are looking for the triple stack on these Cloud Drakes like you mentioned earlier here, Beatdown.
And it's tough too, because No Team, of course, Griffin spawned before the Baron was taken, meaning you have Baron on 5 people on the side of No Team, and they're going to be able to affect mid and bot here. It's an easy extra bit of gold. You see Shady looking for a potential angle, but realistically, there isn't a whole lot he's going to be able to find, because now No Team, they're up almost 6k gold, and unless we see an insane angle come through from him or APA, who is at 3 items, mind you, it's going to be tough. In these extended fights, Maryville just don't have it at the moment.
It's getting tougher for them as time goes on, especially now that you've got Baron pressure. And we're talking about 5 towers to 0 towers, right? And you've got the split ability. You've got players like Darius. You've got the Gwen, who's fantastic at side laning here if she wants to. We can see that that's kind of, part of the strategy. Send either Dragoon or Griffin down and away. It looks like it's Griffin who wants to start this fight. The needlework coming out. It's a lot of damage onto APA, but it's really just a 2v5. It doesn't matter because there's so much damage. Scoop getting the pickup with the kill thanks to the zap. And that immediately is a signal. Maryville needs to break away from this fight. They are not going to come out ahead.
And this whole time, Dragoon has just been pushing bottom lane again with those Baron-empowered minions. And what that means is you're going to lose this mid-inhib. You got to try something.
Yashuka taking a lot right there, but the heal comes through, and Auto Orange is going to go down as Yashuka with the ultimate on themselves in that wild growth. Griffin wants to continue the fight. This looks like No Team wants to end the game right here, now, just about 25 minutes in, and that is going to supply them the ability to do so. Shady, the only member left alive. Griffin going to go in, take up these towers, and just like that, what looked like an even-keeled game within a couple of minutes went very heavy-handedly in favor of No Team, and just after 25 minutes, they end game number 1 in a defiant manner.
Well, that is a dominating showing coming out from No Team here in the first game of the semis there, where they were just dismantled them. Where despite the best efforts from Maryville at certain points of the game, we talked about it, No Team being one of those great late game team fighting teams, they got to that point with very minimal deficits in their favor, or rather against them, and you just saw how well they were able to use some of those leads they started to grow into a win.
That was a big win too. That was quick. They got to the late game really early,
minutes.
like we were expecting them to get. I mean, yeah, 25 minutes, and that was, they were able to pick up the Baron. They started it right at the 20-minute mark. Sure, they were delayed. They were postponed like a minute or two, but it really didn't impact how well they played there. So we are, of course, going to throw it to a quick break, but before that, I gotta talk to you guys about Skulls. So if you're looking to upgrade your gamer gear, you can look no further. Start your 2022 off right with official Unified Esports merchandise brought to you by Skulls. We're talking hoodies, joggers, jerseys, armbands, and a lot more coming soon. You've got the skill, now get the swag. I always do that. Skulls.com/collections/unified has got everything you need. Gear up, game on with Skulls. Of course, we will be right back with game number 2 here between No Team and Maryville University.